With Grief having been finished for a while now, and Doggy also undergoing the verification for a while, and making good progress on it too. He recently did level in 3 runs. I think it's finally time for me to talk about this level and discuss my opinions on it, and come to the conclusion of if this will be a good top 1, or just a kind of generic top 1. Before I start the video, I want to say that I'm going to be reviewing the level of how good of a top 1 it is, not how good of an actual general level it is. While I still will be going over topics like its decoration quality, keep in mind that a good top 1 is different from a good level. For example, while Slaughterhouse on its own is just an okay level, this level is actually pretty good at being an intense top 1, and that's why I think it's actually better as a top 1 than if it was just a generic Extreme Demon. So that's how I'm going to be judging Grief. Anyways, let's get into it then. So first off, I'll get talking about the decoration out the way. Now, its base decoration is probably the weakest part of Grief. While some parts of this level do look genuinely really cool, and probably some of the best parts in any Hell level we've seen, which isn't that much of a praise. But on the other hand, a lot of these parts have just pretty generic decoration, and this especially goes for a lot of drop. I mean, this might just be me, but the second half of the level just feels like a bit bland and void of any real decoration. But what I will give this part credit for is the use of effects. This glitch effect you see here really heightens the feeling of the climax this level, and I think it will make that ending ever so much more nerve-wracking to play, which is a great thing for a top 1 to have. But this brings me on to the next part, which is this level's atmosphere. So you all probably know that Grief is a remake or remaster of Ice Cave's original Impossible level called Slaughterhouse. Not that one, this one. And yeah, while I do think that that level was not really the best, and well, it just wasn't that great. It was an old level, it's one of Ice Cave first levels. It was of course not the best. But one thing that did do great was the atmosphere it gave. With all these really tight corridors, especially in the wave parts, it really makes you feel claustrophobic and makes the gameplay look really hard. Now, thankfully Grief keeps this going with all of its ship and wave parts, having this really tight feeling with no room for movement, and I think this makes the level look way more intimidating than if it had the same difficulty but different structuring. Just with all these tight, narrow gaps, it just really heightens the overall feel of this level. But what complements all of these things as well is the song. I think a level's atmosphere can be completely ruined by a song, and this thankfully did not happen to Grief, as its song is pretty much perfect for the level. This song makes the level feel way more intimidating than most other Hell levels. I mean, for example, compare this part in the Hellfield to this part in Grief. Big difference, right? I don't know how it was possible to have a more fitting song for Grief than the song from Slaughterhouse, but I mean, at least in my opinion, this outdoes Slaughterhouse and is just really good. Now, you probably have noticed I keep talking about this level's intimidation, and that's because I think having an intimidating top 1 is one of, if not the most important thing to make a top 1 good. I think it's best for the community to have a top 1 that when you show it to a new player, or go for yourself, if you're a top player, it really feels like a top 1. While I still think a top 1 is made good by other things, like just the general deco, theming, and level length, which is why I like levels like Zodiac or Tidal Wave. They're outside the norm for top levels. I think that besides Grief having a really generic theme, I mean, how many Hell levels have been top 1 at this point? Yep, that is a lot. But yeah, back to the topic. So yeah, besides the theming, Grief ticks basically every box for a great top 1. I don't know what rating I would give, since the gameplay is hard to judge as it is a top 1, so it's also well out my skill range, so I can't really talk about the gameplay, but from what I've talked about so far, I would give this level an 8.5 out of 10, and I wish Doggy the best of luck verifying this level. That's all I have for today. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. It would help out a lot. And yeah, that's all. Peace.